First off, I just want to apologize for the delay on this video. Motivation Pool has had a drought as of late. Still trying to get more videos. Also, just as an FYI, I won't be live streaming on YouTube anymore, only Twitch and maybe Mixer, which will be linked. Though this might change in the future, if YouTube decides to get their head out of their own ass. With that out of the way, let's talk about Quake. Quake is a first-person shooter made by id Software, the same developers that brought us Doom and Wolfenstein. Quake released on June 22nd, 1996. There's not much of a story like the other id games at the time, but from what I can gather, you are part of a marine group sent through a portal to another dimension. All of your squad mates are taken over by some malevolent force, and it is your job to shoot your way to the end. Quake spawned many sequels. Quake 2, like its predecessor, has no clear plot. It's pretty similar to the first overall. Unlike the first Quake, Quake 2 has the player hold their weapon to the side, like modern shooters, while the original had the weapons in the middle, the axe being an exception. Quake 3 did not have a single-player story. Quake 3 was mainly a multiplayer game, rivaling games like Unreal Tournament. Quake 4 had a clearer plot, still similar to the first and second, albeit more like traditional story modes back during that time. After that, it was silent for 5 years, when we got Quake Live, a remastered version of Quake 3 Arena. Nothing much has changed between the original Quake 3 and Live, aside from minor graphical upgrades and other implements. Quake, again, went quiet. Then, 6 years later, Quake Champions was announced. About a year later, it was released in early access. Then, in August of 2018, it was fully released for free. I will link the Steam page in the description. Quake Champions was a total overhaul of the previous titles. It was another multiplayer game like Quake 3 and Live. This one had the original Ranger character as well as other characters, some from the original Quake 3. Along with those characters, we also get to play as William B.J. Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein and the Doomslayer or Doom Guy from Doom. Each character plays pretty much the same, but each character has its own special ability. Blazkowicz can akimbo any weapon, Doomslayer goes into his rage mode from the Doom games, and so on. Now, I want to speak why I think Quake is one of the most important games to come out in the last 20 years. Back in its early days of Quake, 3 men worked on a mod for Quake. This mod involved at least 2 different teams with 9 classes that can do their own unique thing. These teams would compete to capture points, capture a flag, or just kill as many of the other team as possible. These 3 developers, named Robin Walker, John Cook, and Ian Coughley, am I pronouncing that right? Sorry if I'm not, called this mod Team Fortress. That's right. For those who don't know, Team Fortress was originally a modification for Quake. This mod became extremely popular among Quake players, so much so that the developers wanted to make a sequel. That's when Valve asked them to come aboard their team to create the sequel. Now, for those who don't know, Valve's other games, like Half-Life and Portal, run on what's called the Source Engine. Before the Source Engine, Half-Life 1, Counter-Strike, and Day of Defeat ran on an engine called Gold Source. Gold Source was a heavily modified version of the Quake engine. In other words, if Quake had not been created, games like Half-Life 2, Portal, Team Fortress 2, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive might not have existed today. Or at least, not exist how they are now. Nowadays, id Software belongs to ZeniMax Media. ZeniMax also owns Bethesda, which announced 2 new sequels to Doom and Wolfenstein, as well as a new Elder Scrolls game. Now, to be completely honest, I am afraid that these games might not come to fruition due to Bethesda's recent blunder in marketing for Fallout 76. And that sucks. I want to see what Blazkowicz's daughters get into, see what awaits in Elder Scrolls 6, and to see the Doomslayer rip and tear through the hordes of the demons of hell. Before we get to the outro, I would just like to say that there are 2 mods for the original Quake that I highly recommend. One of them being Quake Team Fortress, which is obvious to what it is, and the second is Quake 1.5, which is a major graphics overhaul, and it has like blood and gore. It's a really fun mod, and it's still in development. Its most recent release has been released, so I'll link those 2 both in the description. Please note that you do have to have the original Quake bought and installed on your computer in order to use them. And for Quake 1.5, you need something called Dark Places, which I will also link. So that was Quake, one of my personal favorites. Don't know what I should do next time. Probably gonna do a sister series on my other channel linked below. Tell me what you think of Quake, and what I should do next time. If you enjoyed, leave a comment, and consider liking and subscribing. Hope you guys have a lovely day.